Well, hello friends, welcome back to our video. Well, in this video, we'll be discussing functions in Python. So, what are functions? So, function are nothing but block of codes that makes our programs more modular and easier to maintain. So, let's explore the ins and outs of functions. Let's see how we declare a function. That's how we declare a function. Let's say how we call the function. Let's run this. So as you can see here, function in Python are defined using the def keyword followed by the function name. So here the function name is greet and the parentheses. So here this these are the parentheses. So there is no input in our parentheses, it is an empty parentheses. So any code written inside of functions block is executed when the function is called. This is the block of function and it will be executed every time this function is called. So here we define a simple function called greet that prints hello world when called. So let's see what happens if we try to run it again. So every time we call this function, it prints hello world. So we can execute this function many times. So we have done with the basics of how we define a function, how we call the function. So let's see something about returning values. So let me write an example code for this. Let's create a function for addition. Now let's call the function and store it in a variable that is results. Let's do that. Let's print a variable out. Let's execute this. So here function can also return values using return statement. So here we are doing is here as you have seen parentheses were empty, so there were no input to our function. Here we can see that two variables inside of parentheses that we have used further in our function. So what we have done here, we have just added the two inputs and returned its value outside the function, which can be used outside. So here what we have done is we have called the function, that is add 3.3 and 5. So 3 is a and 5 is b. So it have returned that value a plus b, that is 8, and we have stored it in the result variable. And in this line what we have done is we have printed out the result, and here you can see we have printed out the returned value in this line. So here we have defined a function called add that takes two parameters a and b and added them together and returns the result. So here we are done with returning values. So if you have any doubts in this, please write the doubt in comments. So let's go further and discuss something about parameters. Let's write some example code for this. Let's print some out. Hello. Now let's call this function. Now let's run this. So here you can see we have declared a parameter here. In our parentheses we have declared a parameter that is name, and in the next line we have printed out the name, concatenating it with hello and exclamation mark at the end. So while calling the function we are giving here before we were giving empty parentheses when there were no parentheses in our first example. Here we are giving something in parentheses. So what it does is while calling the function it takes this and assigns the value and executes it accordingly. So here name is Alice, and it have added Alice here, and I have printed out hello Alice. So function here can also accept parameters, so which are nothing but values that are passed to the function when it is called. So inside the function these parameters can be used to perform operations or produce output tailored to specific inputs. So in this example the greet function takes parameter that is name, which is used to personalize the greeting message. So we are done with parameters. Now let's discuss something about default parameters. Let's write an example code for this. Let's take the same example, that is greet. let's call this function here. So in Python you can also specify the default parameter values for functions. So if a parameter is not provided when calling the function, here as you can see there is nothing inside the parameter, it is an empty parameter. When the function is called, it uses the default value instead. So it have used the default name value, that is world, instead. So here the greet function has a default parameter name set to world. So if no name is provided, it will greet the world. So let's see if, let's say my name. Here you can see we have specified the value, and then it have printed out my name here. So let's keep it empty, then it will use the default parameter that is set to the world. So let's also discuss something about variable number of arguments. So let's write a code for this. Let's create a and will return Churchill here. Let's call print them out. Let's run this. So Python also support function with variable number of arguments using this syntax, asterisk args syntax. So this allows us to pass n number of arguments while calling the function. So n number of arguments can be passed, and they are collected into a tuple inside the function. Here the add function can accept any number of arguments and sum them up. So that concludes our comprehensive guide to functions in Python. So I hope you have now a solid understanding on how to define a function, return values, and utilize parameters effectively in your Python program. So remember, functions are powerful tools for code organization and reuse. So make sure to leverage them in your projects. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you and happy coding.